All of my videos are meant to be watched by adults. I promote legal consumption of cannabis. If you are under 21, this video is not meant for you.
Good evening, I'm the Herbivore, and tonight it's stoner story time, y'all. So grab your joint, let's get high, and I'll tell you a story about how I believe that cannabis is the reason I currently do not have cancer. That's right. I know it's kind of an opinion that maybe a lot of people won't agree with. There's not a lot of medical studies yet because the funding isn't there, but to me, it's the truth, y'all. I know it is what it is. I believe it. Some others do, but when I tell you this story, maybe you'll see why I believe that. So, let me spark her up. And this is the time for y'all, real quick, too. Get your stuff, get it loaded. Let's get stoned together.
I packed this bowl for two. And I am gonna wanna smoke it with you.
Alright, so about the age of 12, I started having issues with my stomach. And that's kind of an embarrassing thing to talk about, but I don't care. I'll just let y'all know. Heads up, y'all. You may not want to hear it, but I had cramping and I had diarrhea like daily, and I was young, and you don't talk to your parents about that. You're kind of embarrassed about it. And I was also a fat little shit, so I kind of figured whatever I was eating, all these like Oreos and junk food or whatever the heck it was, I don't know, maybe that was what was doing it to me. So I just went on about my day for a couple years. Didn't say anything to my folks. See if I can get that thing to stop doing that. How's that? So that went on for a couple years. I didn't say anything for my folks. I just dealt with it, right? Because like I said, it's embarrassing to talk about. And then up at about the age of 14, maybe 15 or so, is when I first tried cannabis. And it was very nice because part of the things with what I was dealing with, like I said, I had that painful cramping, right? And I would have like a knot in your stomach. If you've ever had, like maybe something going wrong or you had that little knot feeling, just imagine that magnified. Imagine like someone just has your guts in their hand and they just keep twisting. And it twists and it goes. And you would think, oh, hey, you're done. No, very painful. And it was to the point that like you would stop what you're doing, like that kind of cramping, like you're done. You're not doing nothing. You're just, like you're stopped. It hurts. Like it's hard to explain if you've never experienced that before. Let me get my ashtray. So, man, I gotta get a table that doesn't wobble, y'all. I'm sorry. We'll upgrade things as this channel goes on, I guess. But hey, you're seeing things as they are now. But anyway, so I eventually tried cannabis, and that actually got rid of that feeling in my stomach. I noticed that when I would get stoned, it would actually relieve some of that painful knotting pressure. Like it would kind of go away. And I don't know if that's the CBD in marijuana, or maybe I was just getting stoned and it felt better. I don't know, but that pain would go away. Like you could feel it just untighten, and that's nice for something that goes on for hours. Like it just slowly gets worse, 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 worse. To feel it kind of go back the other way, to the point that there's no pain, and like it helped. So of course, I love cannabis. It's nice to get stoned, but also the fact that like, it relieves that pain in my stomach for me. So I decided to tell my folks about my issues I was having when I was about 16 years old. I told my mom, and it had been going on for a while. She's kind of upset I didn't tell her, but like, Mom, I would tell you these things. And she took me to my first colonoscopy. At 16 years old, that's not something you want to start dealing with. That's people in their 50s, 60s have to go through that. But no, that's me at 16 years old, y'all. Yay. Drinking laxatives the day before and going in and having that camera on that tube shoved up your ass. 16. Imagine that. So I had my first colonoscopy, and the doctor had found some polyps in there. Just maybe about like 20 or 10, some number. Like it was a lot, but they were like, wow, you got some polyps in here at your age. That's a little alarming. You know, and don't get me wrong, that's still quite a lot. It seems weird that I don't consider that a lot, but y'all will hear why in a while, okay? So they found like maybe like between like 10, something like that. They scraped a couple out and they tested them to make sure that they weren't cancerous, okay? I don't know how many I was left with at that time. Maybe they scraped all 20 or whatever out of there. I don't know. But I was supposed to go back for like another yearly checkup going forward. Well, I didn't go for a long time because I ended up graduating and I went to college. And I'm not going to go and do that on my own. You know, my mom is the one that made me go to the doctor the first time and get a colonoscopy. So I didn't go for a good couple years after that first one. I would say probably 7 years, maybe 5 to 7 years or so. And at that point, I'd had, you know, still my stomach's the whole time, painful, dealing with it, painful diarrhea every day. Like, that's just my life. I'm sorry, hate to be explicit, but that's my life, y'all. It sucks. I have a weird condition. It really sucks. So I was about like 23, 24 years old, and I lost the ability to work with my father. He was stopping his business, and he was moving to the Philippines. So essentially, I was getting laid off from the family business that I had been doing for years. So I had to find a job that was different. But at that time, my mom had convinced me, like, hey, you know, you currently don't have a job. Get yourself on, I think it's Medicaid. There's one for old people, and there's one for people that just need help when they can't financially afford it. I ended up on that. Medi something, okay? I don't know. So I got on that to try to get another scan in my stomach. Oh, look. The sirens have activated the coyotes. I apologize for that, but I guess that's part of living in Washington. Maybe we'll just sit here and get stoned and enjoy it for a second, and then I'll continue the story, y'all. I do apologize about that, but I can't do anything about it. I film outside. I don't smoke in my house, so I'm sorry. But anyway, I went on that Medicare. We'll call it Medicare, okay? Because they will give you like doctor treatments for free, basically. Like, you don't pay your bill, like it's covered, which is crazy that you don't work and then your medical bills are paid in full, which is insane in this country. But anyway, I digress. So I got on that because then I could get a colonoscopy and it wouldn't cost me like, you know, like $6,000. So at like 23, 24, I went in for my second one. And that was kind of the same thing again. They'd found a whole bunch of polyps. The doctor's like, oh wow, you know, this is, whew. And we scraped, I don't know how many of them out. I don't remember how many at that time. Well, there was a lot, okay? And I was supposed to go in and get it done. Apparently another 6 months. I don't know. I don't remember that conversation. For me, in my mind, I thought it was a year, but I guess it was 6 months. I found that out later. But I thought it was a year, and time goes on, and I didn't go again. I didn't go again for a long time because, you know, doing other things. I ended up starting a job, working somewhere else. Life just moved on. I met a woman I loved, and we moved to Texas. You know, and I didn't really do anything with my stomach for, until I was 37. Last year, you know, last year. No, 36. 36, that was last year. So I went again when I was 36. Because the company I work for will actually, they claim that they would cover, you know, stuff like that in their insurance, and they kind of did. I ended up paying a lot of money still, so they covered some of it. But I thought I could get a colonoscopy for free and just get like a checkup, you know, because hey, probably ought to get that looked at again. You know, I slid it away for a while once more. Just kind of put it off, and my stomach all the time, it's still bad, still terrible. So I go to a doctor here in Washington, and I get my first colonoscopy at that point. It's been like, let's say 13 years, 10 plus years, okay, 10 something years, a long time, way longer than I probably should have waited. And by the way, y'all, don't gamble with your health. Don't do what I did. I'm not saying that was smart. I think maybe my outcome would be different if I'd taken my life a little bit more serious, but right now outcome ain't too great. We're managing, but I could have prevented some stuff, and I didn't. So don't neglect your health. If they say go and get it checked, do it. Don't be like me. Okay, that's not the point of this video. So I went again, and I got a colonoscopy done by a doctor, and he had been at it, I guess, for like 30 years, he said. Okay? And when he brought me back from being unconscious, because when you go in, they put you under completely. It's like, they knock you out kind of thing, and then you wake up. So when I'm coming back to and I'm like high on these drugs, this guy's trying to explain to me what he found, because he's never seen something like that before. He's never had a patient that has what he's looking at. He's like, you have so many polyps. Like, what is this? Like, how long has this been going on? When was your last colonoscopy? I took some out to test them, and he starts making this list. And I'll post it here too. I'll dig up a paper and I'll show y'all like the first thing I got from them, because it's like many polyps of this size here and many giant polyps of this. Like, there wasn't a count, there's just many. And it was like, oh my God, we think you have like hundreds and hundreds of polyps in your colon. And I was like, cool, great. Apparently my colon looks like a nerd's rope, That's fantastic. But this guy, he wasn't sure what I had. He'd never seen anything like that in like his 30 years of like daily shoving things up people's ass. I was lucky enough to have something that he'd never seen any before, because he wasn't even sure how to approach it. How do you deal with that many? There's hundreds of them. I have to go to like a specialist who's maybe can see something like that, or maybe I have to have my whole colon removed and end up with a colostomy bag. This is the discussion I had with that guy. Awesome. So they took some out, tested them for cancer, and they sent my records off to a specialist to like let me go and see someone here in Seattle. So let's smoke a bong and we'll start up that part too, shall we? It's the point we all can get high, get your stuff going, because you know me, I want to smoke together. That's the point of this channel. So during story time, when I'm lighting up, y'all light up too, please. Awesome. So I got referred to Bellevue Hospital. Saint something in Bellevue. I should know their name because they're good to me. I'm sorry, I didn't prep this much for this video as I thought I would. I just kind of wanted to get high and tell y'all a story. I should have had that document in front of me from this place, but I don't. Anyway, I got referred to a specialist in Seattle, like a huge hospital that deals with like cancer and like colons and stuff like that. Great, This guy maybe has an idea of what I have. So I get over there and I have yet another colonoscopy. And this is like the second one in about, a month and a half. So that's even less fun, great. Ha ha ha. And by the way, I don't know if y'all know the process of that, so I'll just break it down. You have to have laxatives and everything to clean your system out. You can't eat for at least 24 to like 30 something, 40 hours before your procedure, depending on what day it is. So for me, I'm hungry as hell. I can't eat. I'm eating laxatives. My body already naturally cleans itself out with like my condition. So it sucks. Okay. And that's how those go. So I went to the specialist, and he examined me, and he diagnosed me with what he thought to be adamantius poly. No, sorry about that. So that doctor diagnosed me, because I want to try to like pronounce it right with y'all, because it's a hard one, but it is familial adamantius polyposis, which sounds like a freaking Harry Potter spell.
Wingardium Leviosa.
But there's no going to Hogwarts for me, y'all. So basically, that is not only an inherited condition where you sprout hundreds of polyps in your colon. But I didn't inherit it from anybody. No one in my family has this. My mom, my grandma, my dad's side, nobody. So luckily, I'm one of those rare parts that you can just get it for I don't know why. But, so, like I said, my colon looks like a nerd's rope. I've got several hundreds of it at that time. And that guy diagnoses me with that. And lucky for me, I also have serrated polyposis. So the serrated ones are the worst kind. They're the ones that are more likely to become cancerous, okay? Like they're the ones that, if any gonna get you, it's gonna those bastards. Those serrated ones are gonna get you. Dang. And this guy's like, wow, you have hundreds of these. You know, you've lived like this. We need to get you tested immediately and get tested. Get all these we can, get tested for cancer. We'll get your blood run, everything. Because like, oh man, you know, it's amazing I don't have it yet with the amount of polyps I have. Because when you think about it, most people worry about like maybe like 1 to 5 less, you know, sometimes maybe more, sometimes less in their life. And their doctor's like, oh man, we got to monitor these, you know, make sure they don't become cancer. Imagine that on a scale of several hundred, you know? And I'd been like that for I don't know how long, years, just sprouting them, just living like that. And I'd never popped for cancer, okay? What are the odds? What are the astronomical odds of that? I don't know, but hey, cool. Thank you, cannabis. I mean, I know, like I said, there's not a lot of studies yet to prove that cannabinoids help and prohibit cancer, but there's research being done right now that's kind of leaning that way. And from my experience, I believe the same thing. So, several hundred polyps for years, no cancer, but I'm also a heavy user of cannabis because it relieved that pain too, which is probably from the hundreds of polyps in my colon. So I wasn't really given much of an option. The doctor's like, look, we have to remove your entire colon. There's no way we can manage this with the way it is. You know, you're gonna get cancer. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Like it straight up could be any day. And he tried to tell me, you know, it's kind of like flipping a coin. You know, you flip a coin, heads or tails. Heads or tails. Like how many days are you gonna get heads before it's finally tails? And that's what he explained to me, is each one of these things is gonna finally get you, you know? So, okay, well, thanks, Doc. I mean, yeah, you're right, that's crazy. I haven't got that yet with that many. So, decided to schedule my surgery to get my entire colon removed. And he told me at that time that there's a strong chance that I would end up with a colostomy bag, which I don't know if y'all know what those are, but it's like a little bag that like goes on your hip and like comes from your stomach, and instead of like any poop coming out your butt, you now have like a bag of waste on your hip. And you know, no offense to anyone that has one of those, but I didn't want it. I was so terrified that I was going to wake up with one of those colostomy bags, you know. And my wife, you know, I mean, I guess she's not my wife, we're not married, but common law, we've been together for 9 months. But I would wake up with one of those colostomy bags and she'd have to act like she still finds me attractive, you know, still wants to be with me, like things aren't different. And I wouldn't blame her if they are, you know, I mean, of course. You know, you're going to be intimate with somebody and you have a shit bag flopping around on your waist. It's a little different, you know, but she's very supportive and I love Marina a lot. So this whole time she's just by my side, okay? And I got my colon removed in December of last year, of 2024. From beginning of December until the beginning of January, I was completely out of work. And I didn't think it was going to be that bad, y'all. I thought, you know, I'd miss like a couple days and a week and I'd be back at it, because I've had things before. You know, I've been mauled by a dog when I was a kid. I've broken arms and stuff like that. I'll be fine. No, that surgery really knocked the piss out of me. But the cool thing is they actually managed to take out most of my colon. I think they took out between 85 to 90%. So I have like, you know, like, yay, like, I don't know how much, like, we'll just say like a foot, maybe less than a foot left, 8 inches, something, okay? I have that much left, and they managed to attach my small intestine to what was left of the large intestine, I believe. I think it was the large one that gets removed, that's your colon, I believe. So, and then that little bit remaining got just attached right to the butthole kind of thing, like, so I managed to still pass excrement like I normally would. It's kind of nice. It's just like I'm missing a large section and things are kind of like reattached, you know, like taking out the middle of a straw and putting it back together, kind of. I got lucky. I got so lucky, y'all, because I thought I would wake up with one of those bags. I seriously thought I would, but I didn't. It's really cool. So I was then put on a regimen after I got recovered, which, you know, like I said, took till the beginning of January, and it's rough. Like, I got scars here that still are kind of painful, Like, not like every day, like they hurt, but if you touch them, it's weird how a surgery scar stays sore forever, right? Like, I don't know if anyone's ever had like a deep cut like that. Like maybe like someone has had like a C-section out there, you know? Maybe you know what I'm talking about, where it's just kind of weird that's always tender now. It's weird. Weird. This is like 5-6 months ago. It's still kind of tender. But so I recovered and I got back to work and everything, and that was fine. I think at one point maybe I'll kind of give y'all a more detailed story about recovery, because 4 months of that and trying to get your body to work again and eat, and like how sick I was and how much weight I lost in that month. Pretty interesting story too, but that's not part of this. So maybe at one point we'll do that one too. We'll see. So I was put on a regimen of now every 3 months I go and they scrape all the polyps or polyps, I guess, however you want to pronounce it, that my colon has built up again. At this rate, I seem to be getting about 16 to 20 each time I go in that they have to scrape. So my body seems to make, I don't know, 3 months, what is that? That would be 12. Wow. I make like 1 to 2 polyps a week, probably close to 2. And that's a crazy thing to say. Like, even in what I still have, like that little tiny bit of colon, they've come through and they've cleaned her out and checked them, and none of it has ever popped for cancer still. And I've went twice now and had scrapings again, where they take them all out, check them, start again, see you in 3 months, see how many you sprout. Still no cancer. No cancer. I mean, it might happen, y'all. It might. But till then, I'm going to keep smoking weed, because I really do believe, at least it helped with the symptoms of my pain and the cramping. Whether or not the cannabinoids are actually helping in my colon and making these tumors not sprout, I don't know. But I looked up familial adenomatous polyposis, and like most people about my age have gotten cancer. Like, it's weird, it's one of those things you deal with. Sometimes you get your colon removed completely, you get lucky, you don't have to deal with it, but it's probably coming for me one way or the other. But at least I feel like maybe I'm slowing it down. I'm giving myself a fighting chance, and I really love being in a state that allows me to have that medicine. I love Washington for that. And I know I get on here with y'all, and I joke around and I get high and it's all about getting stoned together and everything. But there's a real part behind some stuff too, y'all. This is real medicine for a lot of people. It does legitimately help with some things. So that was kind of the point of tonight's stoner story time with y'all, is I wanted to start that one. I didn't mean it to be a buzzkill or whatever, but it's just something I really wanted to talk about. I really wanted to tell you all my experience with how I believe cannabis kind of is keeping me alive, because I'm sure there's some of you all out there that feel that same way, that if my life didn't have this herb, it would be different. It would be less enjoyable. I mean, it would be a lot more painful for sure, but I don't know what else it would be, and that kind of scares me. So as of right now, I mean, I just smoke as much as I can, y'all. Every time I get that feeling, because I still have a little bit of colon left, still hurts. Still get that tiny, not freaking pain-ass stomach issues right there. So I still smoke. I mean, it helps. But anyway, that's the story of me, and I guess why I believe cannabis is keeping me alive, y'all. If you can, please like and subscribe. It helps grow my channel. Leave a comment. Tell me about your experience, because, I mean, I know there's not exact medical, beliefs out there yet, but I believe there will be. And I know, like, right now there's people out there that are being helped by this plant. So let me know. Please. Let me know how it's helped you, helped your family. I'd love to hear it. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a great night.